introduction.
I don't know, but I'm starting now, and people can probably hear us.
It's a trap!
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
It's a trap!
This is the Team of Rivals podcast.
Everything you want to hear from the big sports to the big screen.
He's all by himself, fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No!
Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
Doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
Time winding down. Michael for three. Yes! She is gone! I can't believe what I just saw.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! You believe in miracles? Yes!
You may fire when ready.
What?
Well, we've heard of the cluster fuck before on this show. It's been one monstrous clusterfuck tonight because we are not broadcasting on Team of Rivals podcast on Facebook like you followers are used to watching us. We are mistakenly broadcasting out on Cardinals podcast network, so we're going to have to share this one eventually, Elliot, and I will put you on task to do that if you wouldn't mind. Yeah. Nope. So it's just one of those little scroll down menus that it's easily to, it's very easy to screw up. I want to welcome everybody on tonight. Our traveler Pete is not here, but we have with us, we have our friend Elle. Elle, it's wonderful to talk to you again. It has been a little bit, it's been a while, but we went through some morphing here. I think the last time we talked to you, we were still a baseball show. We've said, nah. I think during the quarantine, we decided we'd like to talk about a lot of things, not just baseball. Plus, baseball was pissing us all off for about a month straight. So we've branched out a bit, but the last several weeks, there's been so much baseball news. It has kind of dominated the conversation, but we're gonna break away from a little bit of that in the back half of the show. But Elle, how have you been? You've put up some before and after photos that I have been thoroughly impressed with. I think everybody has. You've gotten tons of feedback on this stuff, but you put a picture from when you were 25 to where you are now. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to. You've put it out there, but I'm not going to say it right now.
I'm 43.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. But the results have been incredible. It doesn't look like the same person.
No, it doesn't at all. It's actually kind of weird to. I've had a lot of DMs asking if it's actually me because the lack of tattoos, I guess, and
yeah,
there's no identifying characteristics, but yeah, no, it was me. I was a big girl.
Yeah, I know. Well, but I think honestly, without the without the tattoos, even it is quite a transformation, and it just goes to show people this stuff takes time. I don't know at age 25 when you started, that picture was from 25, but when did this process start for you?
A little. It started. I started into cardio at 35, and thought that was the way. Every chick thinks that's the way. You got to get on the treadmill, and you got to do some walking, or you got to do some running, or you got to do the elliptical. And cardio is king. Mm-hmm. And I believed that for a while. And then about 39, I started lifting weights and was like, oh, I think I love you. And kind of I'm a very angry little girl. So it's it's kind of like.
You get to channel some of that, right? You got to, as an outlet. Yeah. And, I think the other one the other picture I remember you putting out recently that got a fair amount of response, and it made anybody who's in the weight room jealous. Might have been the triceps picture. I don't know, whichever one got taken down on Instagram, I guess. I don't know, but was it Instagram or Facebook? Somebody complained, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I put it up on Instagram, and I was going to use it on Facebook, and Facebook told me that it was sexually suggestive. So
seriously,
they blocked me from being able to post that as an So after being mocked, mercilessly on there, they without me requesting a review for the picture, they just posted it. They just went ahead and just posted it without just up and posted it. So,
okay.
But it amused me that
it's Facebook, and Facebook has already pissed us off.
I was like, I mean, I had shorts on. I wasn't even facing the camera, so.
I don't get it. I really don't get it. I look at it and I've seen, I mean, gosh, we see worse things every day. I didn't understand it either. But the bottom line is, I'm jealous of your triceps. I'm jealous of your small helo pad shoulder blades that you could probably land a small helicopter on. But it just goes to show, you've put in the work, and the results show in the before and after picture. It's just incredible. It kind of blew me away. Ellie, I don't know if you saw it too, but
I did. I caught it on Twitter, and I caught some of the stuff that was saying that they weren't posting it on Facebook, and I was like, that's totally weird, because I think there's been videos of people getting murdered or dying on Facebook, and they're not worried about violence. They're just worried about that. I mean, it's stupid.
Worried about my triceps and about, I guess,
worried about your triceps and not worried about actual people posting real news and facts. But hey, we're not here to get into that.
We're not here to talk about facts, guys. I mean,
I just assumed it was like rubbing as fragile masculinity. So it was just
Still, my favorite thing is, if you lift weights too, you could look like this as well.
Because I will always, forever, anytime I post a picture of myself, anytime, it's you always have some guy who says, "You look like a man." And so my response has always been, well, if you lift some weights, you could too. So I mean,
there we go. That's the best response you get. That kind of shuts it down at that point, right? Like, you don't really have anywhere to go. I mean,
they don't. Nobody responds after that. It's you don't get. I mean, because what are you gonna say? Like, okay, it's just like, really. Just,
I'm sure the only response you get is "fuck you." I'm pretty sure that's it.
No, I usually get blocked. I never block, because I think if I have to block somebody, I've lost.
Oh God, just do me a favor. Just block Pete tonight. Just block him for no reason. He won't know why. Just block him.
So I always try to see if I can wear them down to the point where they'll block me. And I am undefeated. So
undefeated, never lost.
Never lost.
No. You got to come at me a lot harder than, ooh, you've got muscle on you.
Right.
Seeing if our buddy Pete is going to try to phone in. He is on his way to his father's, I'm sure, getting away for a weekend. He probably has his son with him, so if he's in the car, he's not going to call in. I don't want him to. He's got to watch that road. But Ella, regardless, it's great to see you again on here. And I still have your T-shirts. They've made it their way to my house now. Now, here's the problem. I've got them. Hold on. Actually, never been removed. Here's the catch. Old logo.
We'll change the name of the podcast.
Old logo. I've changed the logo and the whole premise of the show since. So I don't even want you promoting it for me at this point. They won't even know where the hell to follow. Who are those guys? And you got Pete's big head in the middle of that. And I remember asking him, like, which one of these do you want? And I'm like, she probably doesn't want our faces there. So she probably just wants the words. I mean, I would do the same thing. I wouldn't want Pete's big old head in the middle of my chest either. Like, never, not even on a shirt picture. I wouldn't want that. And definitely not anywhere else. Anyway, it's great to see you again, and we got a lot of ground to cover tonight. But I do want to get into, hey, look, we're 8 days away from baseball actually starting. And so I did watch the inter-squad game, because it was broadcast on Cardinals.com. Danny Mac made the call on the game by himself the entire time. And I don't know. I don't know if I could do that, guys. I do a solo podcast every once in a while for about maybe 35 to 40 minutes. That's a hard thing to cover. And I guess you're actually watching something so you can commentate on it. But I don't want to talk about Danny Mac's skill. I want to talk about actually getting to see players play again in empty stadiums. I did find it mildly entertaining. I thought, is this an eye roll? Is this a typical spring training game where it doesn't really matter? You know what I'm talking about, Elliot, like the scrimmage game against the AAA team the day before the opening day. Like, nobody cares about that. I don't care.
Now, did the Cardinals pump in crowd noise into the stadium?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I really couldn't tell. But El, I don't know if you caught any of the game at all or even a replay. But
I thought they said they were going to.
I don't know if they did for the first scrimmage that they broadcast. They did. They're actually playing right now. I don't know if they're playing right now. They might be done by now, but I know they played another game tonight. So I wouldn't doubt if they do that. At least music or something to give some kind of ambient noise, so you don't hear the players saying "F you" every time they don't get a call or something like. Because you're going to hear that stuff, guys. You're going to hear everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought ESPN actually came out with something tonight saying that was how they were going to handle the game.
So Monday night, the Cubs played an inter-squad game, and the only way you could watch it was on Marquee, but nobody has Marquee except for Hulu Live, which that's another topic that I don't want to get into because I'm going to go off on it. But I did a 7-day trial so I could catch that game and then the couple of games that they're going to play early next week. They pumped crowd noise in. They did the music and the batting music in between, like the innings and stuff like that. And Len and JD both called the game on Monday. It was Darvish versus Hendricks, and it was very entertaining, and I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to.
I really want to. I want to go back and look at tonight's game to see what they do about that, right? And I was mildly entertained too, Elliot. I mean, I think that seeing Jack Flaherty, here's the thing, it was 0-0. So I don't know if that's more about how good the two Cardinal starters that were pitching were, or how iffy this offense still is. This is one scrimmage game. I don't want to overreact to it or freak out, but. Once again, a fair amount of strikeouts, not a lot of contact. I realize Jack Flaherty is one of the pitchers, but still, I kind of look at this and go, I know it's a split squad, right? Your offense is kind of divided in half, but still not a lot of excitement on the base paths.
Aren't we kind of starting over with spring training in a sense, though? I mean, like you're starting over from almost day 1A again.
I know it's got to be odd.
They might have been out there playing catch with each other. It's still not this.
Yeah, the starters did look good though. Flaherty looked good. Gomber looked really good, and Tyler O'Neill looked like Tyler O'Neill. A massive mammoth of a bat and massive arms. I think they could rival. I think they're bigger than yours, El. You're gonna have to shoot for Tyler O'Neill. But once again, like comes up empty. All that dynamite and that little wick, so to speak. I think I heard that on a TV show once. I'm not sure if that applies here, but all that potential, and once again, like swing and a miss. But you find yourself really wanting to. I don't know. I've worried about this offense. I feel like, Elliot, we've talked about it for 3 years now. I feel like this like a symptom that just doesn't go away. That I want to just see some semblance of consistency from it. And I know it's one scrimmage game. We've only seen spring training games up till mid-March, so I don't want to overreact to it. We have yet to really see a full-blown game with who you would deem the starting nine. I say the starting nine now because we do have a DH in the National League, which we don't even know what El thinks of that.
Absolutely.
But
yeah.
So when I asked Tom Ackerman, Mark Saxon, Craig Mish recently, they're all National League. We're all fans of the National League. We're all used to that style. We didn't really want to see it, but we knew it was coming, and I've kind of been of the train of thought that if it's gonna be here, just do it, and let's not dick around with it for a couple of years. Let's just if it's gonna start this year, let's just keep it. Let's keep it, move on. I'm okay with it. I'm like settled on it. Whatever, it's here. It's a thing. But I don't know how you feel, El. I know you're an Orioles fan as well, so there's an AL style of ball there. I kind of feel. I'm guessing you might kind of feel indifferent about this. I
really am neutral on it because it's like a handful of pitchers that can really hit.
Right.
So
like
it's like,
Bumgarner.
what are you going to do? I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, okay, for the few that come up and are able to hit and get maybe a single, you're just like, or, a wild time, it might be a home run, but I've always felt like it's a wasted bat. I mean, and I know you got to give them a chance to bat too, but really, why? Your job is to pitch. Your job isn't to hit. Just no.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, if that's look, I mean, DHs go all the way down to the high school level. I mean, to be honest with you, I DH'd for a second baseman. I can't remember what year, if I was a sophomore or a junior. I DH'd for our second baseman. He had a great glove, great arm and everything, but just was light on the hitting, and I was asked to DH for a second baseman. I talked to Brad Thompson, who's a Fox Sports Midwest now, who was a reliever for the Cardinals. He said in high school he was a third baseman, but he was DH'd for as a third baseman. That's how good of a hitter he was. And so, it's everywhere. I mean, it goes down to the lowest levels. So whatever. I mean, National League, it's the Alamo. I mean, don't fight it anymore, and it's coming. And I'm done bitching about it. In fact, I'm kind of tired of seeing mainly Facebook posts from certain groups bitch about DH. I'm not watching it if there's DH there. Not watching
it.
That's
the hill you're going to die on for baseball.
Yeah, right. That's
really something that's already in the other half of the. I mean, it's not like, again, it's not robo umpires or anything that's like so outlandish we've never heard of before. Mm-hmm. It's in the whole other league. I mean,
yeah, it's not like we're putting a guy on second base during extra innings.
I like that. I like it, Elliot. I'm telling you right now. If you remember the World Baseball Classic, they did that. I actually thought it was entertaining. Now we'll see. We'll see how.
It kind of reminds me of college football where
from the 10-yard line and
they start on the 25 and then you get
high school. I think it was a 10 or 15 , but yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
College
the XFL where you had the 1, 2, and 3 extra yards.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I've got a tidbit on the XFL coming up here in a second, but I don't want to go to that yet. But don't let me forget it. But yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. We saw it in the World Baseball Classic. It's a short tournament, doesn't go on forever. Yeah. This is a short season, doesn't go on forever. This is one, guys. I don't think this one will stick though. Now, what I can see a possibility is down the road if it gets past like inning 12. They do that long term, like long term. No fucking ties in baseball. Are you kidding me?
Especially if you have a 1:15 game the next day.
Yeah, in a different city, right? And you're playing Sunday night baseball on ESPN. They always, those things go out in the schedule. They're always like afternoon games, and when ESPN picks them up, they're always like 8:00, and then you've got a 1:00 game the next day. Yeah, I do think that I can see down the road that they implement that rule, but I don't think they'll do it right in the 10th inning. I could see it happening a few innings later. I do think it's a thing, though. I think it'll be coming. Now, robot umpires are something that I think is hilarious because I just imagine a player arguing not with a robot, but with an umpire that was listening to a robot in his ear. That's funny shit to me, and I can't wait to see that happen.
Who do you think the first person is that's going to take that little microphone out of his ear and just throw it or like chuck it?
Well, it would be like Joe West or somebody like that. Yeah.
Throw it down.
Yeah. Or take it out of the umpire's ear and pitch it. I mean,
the first person it's going to be against is Angel Hernandez because he's the absolute fucking worst.
Or CB Buckner. I mean, one of those guys. Yeah.
Him too.
Yeah. He somehow somebody's got to get a memo to CB Buckner like these people aren't buying seats to watch you officiate a game. Like they're here to watch the players. But that's a day I'm looking forward to. Is it's the equivalent to a kid screaming at the TV because he didn't agree with the call on the video game. There's no way that was a strike. I mean, it's right. It's the same thing. But I'm
throwing his controller across the room.
I'm looking forward to that. So I can't wait till we have lasers calling balls and strikes. I think that's going to be a funny thing for our American pastime. But so we do have baseball coming up, guys, and it's going to be a 60-game schedule, and it's going to be a dead-ass sprint, right? This is not 162 games where you can let people, let's just say, find themselves. The managers won't have a lot of they won't have a lot of rope for that. If somebody's not producing, it's going to be like
the hook.
They're going to get the hook, and they might get another chance, but they're not going to have as much rope as they've had in the past. Elliot, who's the most at risk from the Chicago Cubs? Because I think you've got a couple candidates there that, man, we love their gloves or something, but if they can't help us out offensively.
Albert Almora Jr. is probably number one. Ian Happ, if he has a beginning of the season like he did last year, he's going to get yanked. Jason Kipnis, he's another candidate for it because you've got Nico Horner. That's probably going to start the year out in South Bend. Those are probably your prime candidates. We've got a lot of young pitchers, and we've got a couple of these 100-mile-per-hour throwers that we just drafted this season that, given the right opportunity, you could possibly see. So I don't know, though. I don't know if they're a part of that roster, though, that's going to be in South Bend. I know because of what's going on pretty much just in the United States with everything, that a lot of these guys have been shut down for the year. So we'll see.
Yeah, and the Cardinals even have players that haven't been able to get to St. Louis yet because of travel situations. You know, Giovanni Gallegos out of is that the right name? I think that's the right guy. Giovanni Gallegos can't get out of Mexico.
Letting their players come here. I
mean, that's true. I mean, we can't take a flight to Europe right now.
No.
So that's an interesting thing. We do know that we have Genesis Cabrera has tested positive twice, so he's on protocol right now where he's got to stay. He's got to quarantine until he has I think 2 positive tests before he can return to the team. And Alex Reyes, unexplained, but Alex Reyes hasn't been able to report to Cardinals camp either. So some concerns, right? But I guess that speaks to the old cliche, you can never have too much pitching. And for the Cardinals, the one thing they had going into this year, El, is that they had a lot of depth. Now, we're not saying all of them are aces. We're just saying they do have some quality arms, some quality talent. Some of it a little unproven, but they still have a big depth of pitching prospects and young guys. Right, exactly. And so, but they're still okay. They can still fill out a rotation. They can still fill out the bullpen, even with Jordan Hicks opting out, which I haven't even talked about him yet.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, the reality behind Jordan Hicks is we didn't know what version of Jordan Hicks we were going to get this year because he was coming off Tommy John. We didn't know exactly when he was going to be ready, and it's not like he was going to step out there on day one and be throwing 104-mile-an-hour fastballs, right? I mean, he's coming off a major surgery, so we actually didn't know is Hicks going to pick right up and be the closer again in a few weeks. That wasn't guaranteed anyway. But the bottom line is he has type 1 diabetes. He has an underlying health condition. I don't blame him one bit for sitting out this year. One, he's coming off a major injury that could be career impacting. But what good is that arm if you catch this shit and it does some crazy stuff to your body? It's not worth it. I don't blame the kid at all. And amazingly enough, I've seen about 5% of posts out there, dipshits, that are doing I'm sorry, millionaire. Well, first of all, he's not. He's making the major league minimum. He's a rookie. He's still young. He's not getting paid that much. So that's not the case. But I think that he's got a health condition that he needs to. That's a priority. And so, yeah, we don't have him. We were okay last year without him. And I think we'll be okay this year with him. We'd love to have him, but I'm looking forward to seeing him in 21, get healthy, rest that arm a little bit more. I have no issue with it. I don't know why people do. Even the 5% of the idiots out there, the squeakiest wheels on the internet, what the hell are you thinking?
I think everybody's just angry right now, honestly. I mean, I think there's just something about everybody being cooped up inside for 4 months. Everybody's angry about everything at this point. So it's add it to the list.
Yeah, everybody's excuses are just a little bit shorter right now.
Except yours. You've been the same way since before COVID, Elliot. I've never seen you mad. I've never even seen you explode on anything. In fact, you never even told us you were a state wrestling champion. I've known you for 10 years. Did you know that, El?
But, I mean,
unassuming.
No, I was on that night. I was watching that night.
Yeah, I mean, I still have issue with that, but I'll go on. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
But I was going to say we're also, how many days? You said 4 days? How many days are we away? 6?
8 days. It's the 24th. They open up.
Look at these college football teams that programs have kind of stopped at the moment because
Look at
the majority of
Texas
the team
high
out.
school football canceled their
that's bad.
everybody's season. Like,
Right.
no,
So,
that's like the biggest thing.
Yeah.
so like one MLB team, like the majority of them test positive, and they have to stop.
Yeah.
How do you finish it? You can't. There's no guarantee this season goes anywhere. Like, we're lucky for each game, each practice, each batting practice that happens right now, because honestly, the closer it gets, I'm waiting for just more and more players to go, okay, I'm going to opt out, or there's people, testing positive around me. I want out. I don't. And I will be shocked if the season actually starts.
Yeah, you know what? I felt that way. I agree. I felt that way for the longest time, but I think with each day we get a little bit closer. We're all holding our breath, right? Waiting for opening day to get here, because you never know. And so, what is that threshold of players? Think about it. They've got a 60-man roster they can pull from. You can start with 30. You got a taxi squad that travels with you in case something happens, injury or something else, a positive test comes up. But there's got to be some kind of threshold where they're like, shit, this team can't play anymore. Do they forfeit their games? How does that work?
And then how does the rest of the league carry on if you wiped out a team that can't even compete?
You go out and you get your replacements.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that is an option, but I mean, say Goldschmidt goes down or Rizzo goes down for 2 weeks because they've been exposed to somebody, not even tested positive. If you're even around anybody who's tested positive, they tell you to, I work with people now and engineers who can't go in the office for 14 days because they were just around somebody that tested positive, around somebody who was around somebody that tested positive. And so it's all that contact tracing things happen too. We're there's no chance in hell we're going to go through this year and not have a player or two from every team run into that situation. So it's going to be
we've already had some. It seems like we've already had some coaches that have been exposed or tested positive, but thankfully it was right at the beginning, and the teams hadn't gotten together again, so no major players were exposed. But I mean, you get one guy exposed and he hasn't tested positive yet, and you're all sitting in the dugout and slapping hands and grabbing butts and doing dick bumps.
Dick bumps? Yeah, I know. Your Cubs are the one that crowned that move. That was real awesome.
Damn right.
Yeah.
So, so then you got to quarantine an entire team for 14 days. I mean, that's it.
And that's the thing. The same guy who criticized Elle about her triceps, same guy who's posting awesome pictures about the dick bump. I called it. As a Cub fan, I knew it. It was a Cubs fan. I have no doubt at all. Exactly. But yeah, so I just say there's no way they're gonna. This is gonna happen. This is crazy. I mean, 2020 is just nuts in almost every way. You know why? I'm gonna put the period. I'm gonna put the period on the sentence right here. It's so fucking crazy that the first game in Busch Stadium this year between two teams, scrimmage or not, Mike Matheny is going to be managing in Busch Stadium. First game of 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. Royals and Cardinals.
Wait, the Cardinals are playing Kansas City to open up the season?
Nope, but just a scrimmage before opening day. Mike Matheny is going to be managing in St. Louis. That's how crazy 2020 is. And that's
at this point does think it surprised me.
Right. Shit. Yeah.
Why do you be playing second? I
was going to bring up a dead guy's name and I stopped myself. But yes.
10 MLB umpires have opted out of the season?
Yes.
Already?
Yeah, I don't have their names, but I guarantee you one of them probably wasn't Joe West.
No, because the other day, Joe West was umpiring one of the scrimmage games.
You know why? Because Joe West is made of sausage and PVC pipe. That's it.
Mask under his mask before he took it off, and then just was, being the sweaty Joe West on top of the catcher.
Coughing, hacking up behind the catcher. Yeah. I don't know how they're going to control that thing.
Going to quarantine after that.
Licking his hands, going in, grabbing a ball, and then throwing it to the pitcher.
Hey, speaking of licking things, Yasiel Puig.
Where are we going with
Yeah, I know. Yasiel Puig. He signed a deal with Atlanta. He was like one of the last.
Yeah.
He's a big name guy that wasn't signed. He signed with Atlanta. Pitchers now get to carry a wet cloth or a sponge instead of like so. What are they going to do about Puig? Does he get to carry a sponge out there and wipe it on his bat rather than licking it? How are they going to do that if you were the Braves?
Also, there's no chance somebody
licks and kisses his bat.
There's no chance a pitcher isn't abusing that either. No chance.
No, you're going to forget.
Well,
you're going to forget to do it.
Trying.
Like, you know how many times I've gotten out of my car? I know, Elle, you've only left the house 5 times.
4 times.
It's quarantine. But my boys had a camp I was able to take them to, so I've had to like at least drive in the car and walk them up to a door most days. I'm going to tell my son to go ahead and call you. Okay, he's...
But come on, if the Astros were banging on trash cans,
I know.
Do you think there's any chance that they're not putting some illegal shit on a rag?
Whether it's like
I don't think there's a possibility of it.
Or I don't even know, Vaseline on there to get a little bit more spin on whatever they're throwing, or just something.
Right. And it seems supremely hygienic. Whatever this is, it seems like.
Well, and it's not like they can't, like, they're going to be wiping. They're still going to be taking off their hat, wiping, doing that. So it's like, why stop them
wiping
from
sweat off your brow, all
their
that
hands?
stuff.
Because it's just as bad if they're doing all that and then, rubbing the ball when they get it in,
So it's like, should they pump in crowd noise that, like, when a player accidentally does touch his face or anything, like, unhygienic?
Boo? Like a boo? That's perfect right there. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I don't have the sound on here anymore. Speaking of a sound, I think I've got the pad right on here. Elle, I'm going to break off just to a quick Star Wars thing real quick. I don't know if you've ever heard this sound or not, but it's one of the most disturbing I have on my board here. Pete was attempting at one point in time, just a conversation, to do an impression of Nyan Noom, who was a co-pilot to Lando Calrissian in Return of the Jedi on the Millennium Falcon. You know the guy I'm talking about, right? He has the flap face or whatever, but he this is Pete's ill attempt. I think I got the button right. Pete's attempt at his voice.
They should pump that in.
That's as soon as you said that, that's exactly what I was thinking. They should just be yeah. Every time.
There's a whole bunch of that. Just
echo it, like put it on reverb like by 50 times and just have a whole section of yeah.
Against the Astros.
That's
every time they come up to bat.
I like that better. Off speed.
Oh, that would be.
Braden, how you doing, buddy?
I'm sitting here playing MLB, listening to you guys talk, waiting for
your turn to give us your takes. Okay, so we're talking about how players are going to control habits that are just we've done them since we've been in Little League. We've licked our fingers before we rubbed up the ball, or we've slapped another player on the butt when he gets a double, or we've wiped the sweat off our brow, or we dig the dip out of our lip and chalk it away. I mean, these are habits that we're asking people to ignore for 3 months. That's
adjust your cup.
Right.
I was going to say scratch your balls, so I mean,
there we go.
I let somebody else do it.
It happens. I mean, look, I tell you what, I've got two sons that play in Little League. The cup technology they have now is way better than what I used. I'm not going to get into the details on it, but all that did was basically you might as well just have a board smashing everything up against your body. You've got to scratch it. I mean, you have to. There's no choice.
You missed a chance for a plug for the...
Oh, the Nutty Buddy Cup. Yeah, I should have done that.
you
Anatomically
missed a chance.
correct. It has a position for testicle A, testicle B. Yes, Nutty Buddy, ran by our friend Mark Littell, who was on with us a few months ago, Elliot, when we did our last baseball exclusive show, which we declared we were off of baseball exclusively, and we've only talked about baseball tonight. And we've done that for several weeks in a row now. But yes,
hey,
Braden,
but we do have some Star Wars news that we need to at least.
We do need to get to it. We will get to it, and
by the end of the show.
And Elle, you're gonna have to refresh my memory here. My 15-year-old's on, and he's a fan of the same things we are on the show. A diehard baseball fan, overly emotional, doesn't know how to control himself because he's 15. So he sets his PS4 for illegal trades on MLB, stacks his team. He's just awful in every way. He would be a Brian Cashman of the late 90s. That's what kind of GM he is on the PS4. I know he's.
Hey, I'm rebuilding the Orioles right now, okay? And we made the playoffs in 2021.
Why the Orioles? Why'd you pick the Orioles?
Because they need a GM like me to save them.
Oh, okay.
When the bar is so low, like you can't help but be surprised in any direction. Like, how much more can we suck, or how much better can we win? That's the glory of being so bad.
Is that where Theo is next?
That's his next Lego set right there. Because I think Theo.
I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, the places. I mean, he's got a repertoire for going to places that need a lot of help.
Well, and let me lay it out for you, Alec, because you're right. I mean, he did a hell of a job in Chicago. There's no denying what he was able to do, given the shitty situation they were in when he stepped in. What was it, 2011? Like the shitty contracts they had, no farm system. Yeah,
it's gonna be a while, but we'll get there. I promise.
I don't know if he exactly said you're gonna have to wait 5. Well, 5 years is actually pretty good for a new guy taking over and then building a winner. That's not that's not bad. That's actually a good thing. But yeah, I mean, Elle, what I've said about Theo before is I think he's this kid who gets this big, cool Lego set. Once he's done building it, he just wants to leave the house and go to the next house with a really cool Lego set he thinks he can build. And so he just wants to do that. Now, when he left Boston, you know, he orchestrated these trades for like Carl Crawford and Adrian Gonzalez. Like he left Boston a mess by the time he left.
He pushed the Lego set off the table and he broke the shit out of it.
And kept the instructions with him.
That's right. That's right.
Instructions and he put it in the fire when he walked out the door.
Actually, he took everybody else's shitty Lego sets and said, "I'll take those and I'm going to make something better out of it." And once he figured out he was missing
some Duplo in there.
That's right. He was missing some pieces. He's like, "Oh fuck, this is not fun anymore. I'm going to go to Chicago."
He combined a couple of Lego sets and then he took the instructions and destroyed them.
Yeah, he burned them and left the next GM to clean it up, and they accidentally did.
Yeah.
But I can see. I've said that to Pete before many times. I could see him moving on to the next project. He's one of those types of guys. He wants to build something. He wants a project. And when he feels Chicago's not a project anymore, because he's already done it there, I do see his desire doing something else elsewhere.
I guess about the good thing in Boston though is he left a blueprint. And the good parts of that blueprint was followed after he left. And Boston is has been in a good position since his exit.
I don't know. Well, they won a World Series. You can't. But they won a World Series, and I think that, you know, they're not a great. I mean, look, they traded Mookie Betts. Like when you're in a position where your organization has to trade a player like Mookie Betts,
now.
Well, and of course, yeah, and you know the GM that stepped in after him, I think 2 GMs that stepped in after him, you know, made a deal for like Price and signed a sale to a long-term deal. Now, you know what? In the middle of that, they had a World Series out of it, so I don't think anybody's going to complain. So, but anyway, that's a little bit about baseball. Braden, I'm going to ask you while you're on here because we're getting ready to jump topics here. So we're running a little long, but probably because we started about 15 minutes late. But I don't know if you watched the scrimmage the other night, but just any takeaways from what you saw from the Cardinals playing the Cardinals?
Well, I did not watch the full games or whatever, but I did see clips of whatnot.
Yep.
Jack Flaherty versus Dylan Carlson, which is very interesting because, 10 years from now, you may be like, wow, those are two Cardinal legends. Or 20 years from now, like two Cardinal Hall of Famers facing off against each other, which was interesting to see. And I saw some clips of Dion hitting some bombs, which I don't know if any of you have seen the new Big Mac Land. I don't know what your opinion on that is, but for me personally, I think it's absolutely horrible. I think it's disgustingly bad.
Okay.
But,
well, let's ask Elle that while she's on here. She's a St. Louis, and she's right down there, and she's seen Big Mac Land for years, been used to the Big Mac Land we've always been used to. Elle, is this an overreaction to a guy accidentally hitting a home run into the M?
Yeah, it's, how nothing can ever be left alone for any amount of time. Like, everything has to be revamped. It's just like that is what we needed fixed. I mean,
no cleanup hitter, but God damn it, we got to replace that sign out in left field.
Okay, so let's not go after anybody this offseason, but by God, let's get Big Mac fixed.
Yep, I agree. Braden, go ahead. Sorry, I thought while we had Elle here, she's used to it. So please, you got 20 seconds.
I'm glad that we still have Big Mac Land. I mean, why did you fix? I would have just went with the same sign. See who's the next guy to break it, or get a ball in there. That's the fun of it. The new Big Mac Land, you can't get a ball stuck in there. And I don't get why it's called Big Mac Land when the new sign has two fries on the side of it.
Wait a minute.
Big Mac Land, not Large Fry Land.
I don't know who put the first. I think Gould put a picture out of the new Big Mac Land. I'm like, whoa, hang on. If it's Big Mac Land, why in the hell is it flanked by fries? I agree with that.
You ever put French fries on your Big Mac? It's like putting your hash browns on your breakfast sandwich. It's
yeah.
It is, but it's Big Mac Land. It's not Big Mac
Fry
and
Land.
Land.
I think it's just Big Fry Land.
Because his French fry probably looks like this.
Oh, come on.
I can't help it. I had to go there.
I know you did.
I did watch that 30 for 30, though.
Yeah, you know what? I was going to pivot to that real quick while it came up, while Big Mac Land came up. I've asked all the guys I've talked to over the last several weeks, just kind of what their impression was, especially Tom Ackerman for KMOX Sports, who that was his first year really covering sports in St. Louis was 98. And wow, what a year to start, right? What a year to break in on that. And he said that the
30 for 30 with the side of Sosa.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. It was a little dash of Sosa on there. But I mean, what are you going to get from him? But
baseball
it was very St. Louis heavy. The whole documentary was, and that may have more to do with.
I know he broke the record, but when you look at that summer, though, there was excitement. Both, yes, there was a ton of excitement in St. Louis because Big Mac he broke the record, but it was awesome in Chicago too because it was a back and forth thing.
Yeah, and it was great because it was the two rivals. That it really came down. Absolutely. It was right. You couldn't have scripted it any better than that. Really.
And I think there was a lot of camaraderie between Cubs and Cardinals fans that season because of that. I think there was I
hated that son of a bitch sneaked his way into that race. Like he had no business being there. He just arrived at a party. Like literally, we were having a party. And he just arrived at it at like 9:30, which is earlier than we started tonight. But at least my time. I didn't enjoy the fact that Sammy was in there. I'm like, why? Why is a Cub in this moment that's Cardinal exclusive right now? Like, why the fuck am I paying attention to a Cub during this race?
When the competition does just as good, it pushes the others to do better.
Even McGuire said that. And even they had even alluded to the fact that you almost needed somebody with charisma on the opposite side of McGuire because he just wasn't your camera ready kind of guy. He wasn't, and so like you almost needed somebody.
Nah, I think Sosa made Maguire a liar. I don't think he meant that. I think he didn't want anything to do with Sammy there. I mean, look, Elliot, we've covered it on here before, but what I asked everybody else that I had talked to the last several weeks, did they capture it accurately, right? Because, look, they set a bar on the 30 for 30 with The Last Dance. They're never going to touch that, ever, right? And so
absolutely not.
This one felt like it was rushed a bit, I think, just to try to get it in during all this stuff when there's a lack of content. A lot of B-roll that was like of modern day. I mean, when you see a guy in the outfield with a Schwarber jersey on, that's not 1998, right? So, I mean, there were just little things like that you could kind of detect, and it was very Cardinal heavy, which that's great for a Cardinal fan. You're watching that, you want to understand, but I think that they touched on it in the beginning that St. Louis at the time, if you go back to 1997, Ozzie had retired the year before. Like, they didn't have a face of that team at all. And you had, I don't want to disparage guys like Ron Gant and Ray Lankford, because Ray Lankford's a Cardinal Hall of Famer, of course, but they didn't have a marquee player. They really didn't. Not even a marquee man.
Even with McGuire, like, everybody here just assumed he was a one and done when he came in.
Sure,
it was just like, I'm not even gonna. It's like, great, he's here, but it just felt like it was like rent a player at the time, and so there really wasn't any. It's kind of similar to what's going on right now. Is there's just nobody that you're like, there's no like real need to tune into a Cardinal game. There's nothing. They play boring. I mean,
yeah. And they definitely did that under the Matheny years. They absolutely did. And you can't look at Paul Goldschmidt and go, he's a steady guy. He can be. I know he had a down year last year, but I mean, still a good year if you look at it statistically, right, Braden? I mean, even a down year for him, still a pretty damn good year on average.
Sure.
But he's not a guy that's... But yeah, right. He's not a guy you're like, oh my God, what's he going to do tonight? Unfortunately, Chicago has that kind of guy that we would love to have in Javi Baez. Like, that's this player with flair and that can do something spectacular almost any night that you want to have on your team. And we, as much as we love our captain, Yadier Molina, we love him. He's not going to do those kinds of things. He's not going to do those McGuire types of things. He's not going to do those Jim Edmonds types of things, right? And that's the player we just haven't had.
It takes him actually getting like angry at an umpire or a call for like
or a Cubs
the
catcher.
Crowd to actually perk, for the crowd to perk up and be like, oh God, that's right, we're here in the middle of a baseball game. Like he has to and it's all, you can tell some of those are manufactured slice against him just to pump the team and the crowd up, and so it's just it's not the same. I mean, 98 was a big year.
It was a fun year.
Like he hit 70 on my birthday, so I mean.
Oh boy! And I'm not going to do the math.
22.
22. Yeah, we were about the same age, I guess, at that point. I remember. And Braden, you still there, right?
Yeah.
He sounded so happy that I just cut him off. Didn't let him talk for.
I'm currently signing minor leaguers in the Orioles farm system. How fun!
See, he's committed. I don't know if El caught this. He is building his PS4 MLB The Show team. He's building up the Orioles. That's the team he's going to take to the top right now.
Because again, like because you can't. How do you go lower? I mean, there's nowhere to go but up.
He's trying to build God status right now by pumping up the Orioles. I recognize your scent, Braden. I'm onto it.
Do you want to hear my roster?
Orioles?
Do I want to hear a roster? We're not going to know any names on it. No.
So
he's going to tell us anyway. You know how he is. He's going to tell us.
2021.
Just do it quick. I just want the 25 man. I don't want your signing. I don't want any of that shit.
We're going starters. I'm not naming any bums.
Okay.
If they're not good enough, then they're not good enough to even
All right,
be
go through your starting. Go through your starting 9 and then just your rotation.
Okay, so starting are the ace for the Orioles, Noah Syndergaard. All right.
What? Okay, wait. You don't have to announce it like they're coming up to the plate.
Eckhart. 6'6".
Joe Musgrove.
Okay.
John Means, 83 overall. He's actually pretty young, pretty good.
I don't want any
Kinda
facts on
under
him.
the
I
radar.
don't care about his history. I don't recognize his name.
Right.
Taiwan,
You mean
Walker, Daniel Norris.
Okay.
The bullpen is irrelevant, but it's decent. Michael Givens, Adley Rutschman, Josh Bell, Raymond Urias. I think he's pretty decent.
It sounds like a computer-generated name, like not a real player.
Some guy, some decent third baseman. Drew Jackson, Anthony Santana, George Springer, and Trey Mancini.
George Springer?
It's overall a really good team.
Okay. All right. That doesn't
Josh
sound
Bell,
like that doesn't sound like he got drunk and Elliot, just your opinion. That doesn't sound like he got drunk and disorderly and just stacked it, does it?
Probably.
You mean probably yes?
Pretty close. Pretty close. I mean, he's getting there. I mean, Noah Syndergaard on the Baltimore Orioles. Who did you have to trade away for that?
The whole AAA team.
It's the offseason of 2021. I signed
Cal Ripken's
Noah
We'll trade you Cal Ripken's consecutive game record for Noah Syndergaard.
A statue and his legacy.
Right. And his
3
brother.
year,
And you can have his brother
deal.
Billy.
Let's just throw that in for free.
Okay. All right. Well, Braden, I still hold to the. I think you've kind of done that fair-ish. I don't think you turned off the trade. You know, you can do that. You can still do that, right? I haven't played video games for like 10 years, but
I don't do that. I don't force trade. I do.
I don't know if I believe you.
Real life GM rebuild.
Okay.
None of this fake stuff.
You know what's going to happen? What's going to happen is
I want to know the real life GM on the other side.
Well, what I think here, Elliot, is I think Theo watches our show. You're going to see this assistant GM here. Like, literally, like Theo looking over his shoulder while he's playing his PS4.
Because I don't know how he gets these trades done.
And he's going to, right. Same with like Walt Jocketty back in the day. Like, how did you trade Mark McGuire for Ryan, or not Ryan, but TJ, or whatever, Ludwig's brother? Like,
right.
Like, what? How did you trade, how did you get Jim Edmonds for Kent Bottenfield?
For Steve Clevenger.
But Edmonds for Kent Bottenfield.
That probably hurts for you, Elle. I'm sorry.
Okay. Again.
She's fine. She's fine. We've got to pivot, guys, and we've only got a little bit of time left here. But Elle, since we've talked to you, I don't know. I mean, I know that. So let me ask you, because I'm trying to remember the last show you were on. Did the Clone Wars end before we talked to you last time?
Did it end? No, it did not.
So, okay, let's visit that real quick, because I think that out of all the things out of this Disney era, there have been two things I've been like thoroughly impressed with, right? That I've like been kind of like knocked over. Yeah, Mandalorian and the Clone Wars ending, how they ended season 7. I know Braden was on here to talk about that a little bit with us too. How that show ended. The last 2 episodes were like, and especially episode the next to the last one, part 1 of the Siege of Mandalore, was maybe the most tense Star Wars moment I've had in like forever. I don't know how you felt. And that was when Order 66 happened. And it was nothing but sound and music. It was no talking, no dialogue. It was like faceless, expressionless clones. And you didn't know if they knew or not, and you were just waiting. And so to me, it was like, that was one of the best moments in Star Wars I think I've had in a very, very long time. And I go back and watch that from time to time, and the feeling never changes. I'm like, this was a brilliant way to execute this, because we had all seen Revenge of the Sith. We knew how it happened with the main cast of characters. We didn't know what happened with all of the ancillary characters, the characters we had been introduced to afterwards, like Rex, like Ahsoka. We didn't know that, but now we got to see it through their eyes. And I think it was the last 2 episodes of the Clone Wars were my absolute favorite Star Wars moments since the Disney era, Elliot.
It really did help it really helped the prequels.
It absolutely did.
Above and beyond. I think without the Clone Wars,
and kind of onto that point about helping the prequels. I don't know if you've watched the Gallery series at all. Have you?
Mm-mm.
It's kind of a making of the Mandalorian thing, and I would suggest watching that. It's really interesting. There's
a couple of parts where Dave Filoni kind of talks about the Clone Wars and some of the meanings behind it, and there's one where he talks about Revenge of the Sith, and it's almost eye-opening, some of the things that he says, because I mean he's the closest guy to George Lucas that is within that the Disney universe and the Star Wars universe, and some of the stuff that he says is just like, it kind of gives you a little bit more appreciation for those prequels, and it puts another lens to watch them and to kind of see where he's coming from and where his views about what has happened is. So
yeah, I've restarted the Clone Wars with the Disney wiki page where it has what order you should watch them in, and then putting the movies in, like between certain episodes and following like that. And I've been doing that just because everything's come out in such, like that came over here, and then this came out over here, and then this movie, and so it's like I've been trying to like see if I can like somewhat get even like, your Rogue Ones, and just try to get it all into like somewhat of a chronological flow, and see if it helps you appreciate anything that you didn't appreciate on its own, standalone. Right. It's a shame that you have to do that.
Right.
To do it, but
I agree. It's 8 episodes, Ron.
It is. Series. But it doesn't really. I mean, if you like The Mandalorian, it's not like it's going to take you over the top. But once you figure out like the collaboration with the creators of it, right, with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, and you see the cast of not just actors, but the directors that came in who were there from shoot to shoot.
Dallas Howard,
not even on theirs, right? They were watching. Like they were there for everybody else's shoot too, and you see the working together on this, and you look at that, and then you contrast it with the sequel trilogy, and you're like, okay, so we have a group of creators and producers here that know what the hell they're doing, and now we look at our sequel trilogy, and like, where are those documentaries where Ryan Johnson was there on the set of a Force Awakens shoot, working with JJ, understanding all this shit. Like, and you just you look at the cooperation that they had with the Mandalorian, then you look at the sequel trilogy, you're like, what in the fuck? Like, how did they figure it out here and not there? Like, the most important thing, I would imagine in Kathleen Kennedy's mind, were the theatrical releases, not the Disney Plus streaming stuff. But they got that so much more right than the movies. It's like, it's kind of embarrassing if you think about it.
Yeah, and it is, because you have all the time, you have all the time, and you have all the money at your disposal.
Yeah.
So why aren't these things just perfect?
I don't know. And explain to me why.
It's one of those things, because like you can go back and you can watch any of the Marvel movies on their own, and sure, there's going to be some that are better than others.
Yeah.
And if you watch them all together, obviously there's a cohesion there. But you're able to go back and watch. Oh, let's say I just want to watch, Captain America: Winter Soldier on its own. It's fine. Yeah. I don't need to watch all of them in order to be like, oh, I appreciate this movie. And that but I heard they're supposed to move her out by 2021.
Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that's been.
I haven't heard that yet, but we've talked about this, Ron, where We have, especially watching the gallery series, we have difficulties seeing where she actually has meaningful input.
But I know, and Elle hasn't seen this yet. So what Elliot's referring to is there are roundtable discussions. Part of the gallery is they're sitting around table with all the directors or all the actors or Filoni and Favreau with the creators. And I think only a couple episodes Kennedy shows up in, but when she talks, she offers nothing.
He was like
nothing. Like
what are you doing here?
Exactly. Like you offered no insight to this, and except reference back to George on the Indiana Jones set back in 1982. But like you're not bringing any. I don't know. You just get this sense that she wasn't bringing a whole lot to the table in Mandalorian. That it's almost, I feel like this, Elliot, and we could all be dead wrong, but like Favreau's put there, and it's kind of maybe a mandate to like leave him alone. He's got this one. Leave him alone. Don't. Your hands are in your finish off that shitty sequel series and get away from this. That's kind of what it felt like.
I think the smartest thing Disney had done was, besides bringing Dave Filoni in on this project, was bringing Jon Favreau in, because we all know that Filoni is more of the animated guy, but he's also the story guy.
Good story guy.
Favreau, great story guy. And Favreau is the live action. I mean, he brought Iron Man to us, which very strong feelings about that character in the Marvel universe and the way that they, set him off in Endgame is just, it's still one of the most emotional things, I think, in that entire 10 years that they did. I mean, I did a fantastic job. So.
Okay, now here, this is what I've read is that they said that Disney ignoring Star Wars, Kathleen Kennedy gone by 2022, and they said that there is a plan is in place to reset Disney Star Wars and use a concept called the Veil of the Force.
Yes, we talked about that.
Awakens, Last Jedi, and Skywalker from canon.
Yep, we talked about that last week.
Making them a part of the multiverse. Yep. So
we talked about.
Her contract's up next year.
Yeah, you're right.
Part of the Rebels thing, and you're right. We talked about this.
Well, let's go back to it and reset it, Elliot, just so Elle knows where we were at on that. And Braden, I want to bring you in too, because I know you've seen this. You go back to a part. Yes, the premise is there's a vehicle, a switch, a way for them to kind of set that aside, much like JJ did when he rebooted Star Trek. Right? When he rebooted Star Trek, he said, look, I have a theory behind why he chose to do that. But when you go and you kind of send it off in a different timeline or a tangent, and you change things, right? So it doesn't necessarily invalidate everything that happened in the sequel trilogy. It just means that, no. Things took a different turn in this universe. This is the way it's going. There's a vehicle for them to do that, which Elliot was alluding to, and that is something called The World Between Worlds, which was an episode of Star Wars Rebels where it was kind of far out. We've never seen this in Star Wars before, but I don't know. Elle, have you seen the whole Rebels series?
No, not the whole.
Okay. So it's like the Clone Wars. Rebels was, there were, I don't know what, Elliot, maybe 30% of the episodes were kind of filler where you don't really need them, but they're cool, right? I mean, there's a few.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, there's some story, there's character building context between there with their relationship between Kanan, Ezra,
right? I mean,
Zeb, and
in typical Filoni fashion, he makes it all relevant in the end. But when you watch those episodes, just like me putting an example out of the Clone Wars, like as the Clone Wars ended, you saw those 4 droids, which was the worst story arc in Clone Wars, which was the 4 episodes in a row, like a month, where we had to watch a half an hour of droids, astromech droids. It's terrible. It was awful to trudge through. Braden, you remember that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it was brutal, and it was really like walking through a desert without water. But there they were on the last episode, Elliot, and they were relevant in the story at the end, at the very goddamn end. But if you take The World Between Worlds, which is an episode, and I don't remember exactly what season it was, but it was
it's the last season, and it's the third
right,
to last
yeah.
episode because I just rewatched all of Clone Wars.
Well, I don't want to spoil it for Elle. She hasn't seen it, but basically, it's a spot in the Force that connects future, past, present, and if you do it right, you can have the ability to save someone or not,
and walk between them.
Yeah, and so that happened, and it happened to a critical character, I think, in Star Wars Rebels, and a critical character that was in Clone Wars, and that happened, and it was a thing, and that's a vehicle for them to, I think, possibly change the timeline. Like if they want to say, you know what, sequel trilogy,
isn't that big right now? I mean, that's what Marvel ended with.
Well, it's what Star Trek.
We're going to go in. We're going to reset.
That's what Star Trek, JJ did with Star Trek, right? He introduced a black hole and changed it, like changed the course of Spock and Kirk and all those guys.
That's what they plan on doing with Loki in the new series, I guess, that comes out next year. Yeah.
Because in Endgame, he escaped.
Right, so
it takes that timeline and it breaks it off, and this is Loki's new timeline.
Yeah.
Right, where he's actually like supposed to be arrested by the guys who watch the multiverse jumping and the time.
The overseers. It's what Stan Lee's character was a part of, correct?
Yeah.
The Watchers.
Yeah. There's like the emblem is like, if you like the shot that he's in, he's got like his prison jumpsuit and he's got something on it that's like he's being held by those guys who watch.
They're in the long black cloaks and they got the big old heads and
So I mean, like time. I mean, they're doing it at a perfect time if they decide to do it, because right now everything can just be. It's a different multiverse. Hey, that happened over there, and now we're gonna. If you're gonna do it, it's the perfect time to do it because that's what sci-fi does.
I think it's the perfect time. I think it's a perfect time for Star Wars to do that, because then it gives them ample opportunity to kind of take these stories into a different place. And I know that. I think it's a perfect time. I think it's a perfect time for Star Wars to do that. Because
I pulled up our Periscope feed. I didn't mean to, and it's feeding into the board.
I was going to say, I thought that was Braden trying to.
We were in an alternate universe, Elliot. You were talking again, and you made a better point.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would be a perfect time, because if you reset and they sit down and they think, let's look at this. If we're just going to forget about those 3 movies, but now we have a chance to, let's use, we've got Rebels and Clone Wars and Mandalorian and the original series, and because the prequels fit so well into the Clone Wars, we're going to use those 2. We've got a whole bunch of information. We've got a whole bunch of reference material. Let's actually use it, utilize it, make it make sense.
Yeah.
And you could do something brilliant with it.
So do you think they should go to something totally new, past, like in the future of where we're at in the Skywalker saga? Or do you think they should go Old Republic and tell some of those stories with Revan and Malik and Bastilla and some of those stories that have never been told on the big screen, but has a lot of content and a lot of context to what we've already seen?
Well, like Star Wars Legends you're talking about, right? Like Legends, right? Like the novels and things that don't officially count yet. Sorry, Elle, I didn't mean to jump in front of you here, but I'm like, Elliot threw this out here. And so I'll go back to what I said before, and I agree with Pete. Our missing partner tonight. The more I reflect on this sequel trilogy, the more I wish they wouldn't have done it. Which is a shame, right, guys? Because we still had Carrie, Mark, and Harrison when it started, and we had one shot pretty much to get it right. They didn't get it right, and if they're going to redo it, go 100, 200 years out, get away from it, let the Return of the Jedi end, and at least if that's the storyline you want to follow, let that end with peace and move on. I just don't think there's any room to go back and retell.
Well, I think there's plenty of room to go back, because I think like you don't have to be on the trek of following even where the Skywalker story goes. But I mean, like the reason, like when Game of Thrones ended, people don't want a sequel to Game of Thrones. They don't care about what, like, it would have been like how Return of the Jedi ended. If everything was wrapped up and everything was peaceful, let it end there. But hey, let's go back into the past and all these things that they would reference, you know, like the long winter and all, like where the White Walkers come from. Let's go back and hit all that information and kind of like, there's enough story there to, you can bring the people that watched the original one, but now you don't have to revisit the Starks. I mean, you would obviously have the Starks because but you wouldn't have their progeny on where you would go back and you've got years and years.
And I agree with you all. If you think about it, like in the original trilogy, right? We heard of the Clone Wars. We heard Princess Leia speak that on the hologram, and we always wondered what the hell that was. And to her point, like, you know, you speak of this, and so why not tell that story? They did it with
Rogue One. One little line made
in the crawl,
created the whole movie,
which was from a theatrical perspective, my favorite thing that Disney has done since they've acquired it has been Rogue One, and I think that's kind of consensus to Star Wars fans.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. And they took that from just one. They took that from one line. I can't remember if it was in. I mean, it would have had where she said many rebels or many
lives trying to get these plans done.
Yeah, I mean, that was one line, what you could have considered a throwaway line. They made a movie out of it. So I mean, like, you can't tell me then that Star Wars can't do that to multiple things, and then be able to bring in the people that haven't seen Clone Wars and make it like, because if they're going to do that with Marvel right now, where you've got to be able, you're going to have to watch these series for it to make sense in Phase 4. I mean, like, you may not have to, or you may.
You're talking like the TV series.
They're going to tie into Phase, like, I think the Wanda and the Vision are going to tie into Doctor Strange movie. So bring interest back to the Clone Wars. I mean.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you on this. And Braden, I know you're sitting here patiently, and you're not a patient kid, which I'm surprised you haven't made a noise yet. Do you have any opinions on this, at least what we're talking about, look, if you're going to take Star Wars in any kind of direction at all, like, what are you most interested in seeing? Like, way out in the future? Or, like, should they address something that has been talked about in the past, like the Old Republic, or, you know, how the Sith became, or the Rule of Two, or anything like that that's in the past that's relevant to where the trilogy ended up? Like, what do you think you want to see?
Well, personally, I would love to see the beginning of Star Wars.
Oh, for the love of God, can you put your mouth near the microphone on your phone? Are you in the shower?
No. Personally, for me.
Thank you.
Personally, for me, I would love to see just the beginning of Star Wars and how everything started and was created, and just even before Episode 1, like, all of that would be amazing for me personally. But you talk about redoing the sequels and all that stuff. I don't think they would ever do that. I just don't see it happening. Even though
you're farther away from your microphone.
I don't think it ever will. But
I'm just imagining him like leaning back farther and farther. Like, he's still talking. You know, he's not even hearing us. He's
like, you guys hated the prequels, right?
Yep. No. We can't hear you very well.
No, we can't hear anything you're saying.
Are you walking circles around your room and talking to us? We're not really sure. Like, you sounded very clear a second ago, and now are you like leaning back?
No, he's gone now.
Can
He's so far back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now that you're near your phone. I think you were pacing around your room.
I accidentally went on hold or something, I think.
No, we heard you. I think you just had no regard for where the speaker was, and just okay. Go ahead.
No, but I can't ever see them redoing the sequels. But for me, it's crazy how you guys hated the prequels when they came out, and then
We did.
people my age hated the sequels when it came out. But then 20 years, people may praise the prequels when a new trilogy comes out and stuff. So
Well, let me put it
I
this
don't
way.
know. I don't see.
But it wasn't the prequels we hated. We hated all the actors save for Ewan McGregor. I mean, that's what it was. We hated.
Well, and Liam, we like Liam.
Well, okay, yeah, but he was the first. I mean, like, so what I'm saying, like, you had Ewan
Braveheart
McGregor.
was okay.
Who? Okay, I mean, like,
Really?
So I mean, like, you got Ewan McGregor who carries the entire fucking prequel. Pardon my French.
Yeah.
Entire prequel. You have Hayden Christensen, who's like a woodboard. You have Natalie Portman, who's like, God help me, this is who they paired me against. And you got Jar Jar Binks. It's not that we hated the movies; we hated the stories. If you were to like strip everybody out of them, just say for like Ewan McGregor, if you were to, the stories were decent. There were a little problems, with his birth, whatever. But I mean, like, it's the stories
Just a
were
magical
okay.
birth.
We hated the acting. That's what was so
Well, in the
bad.
line,
Star Wars isn't known for their acting, but some of the stuff in the prequels was so cringeworthy.
Well, and it is.
And sometimes very uncomfortable to watch.
And the most uncomfortable episode to watch, Elliot, and I think you're going to say this too, is Attack of the Clones. Just some of the acting between Portman, and it's not even, I don't even put this on the actors.
God.
I put this
mean,
on the dialogue. Like, how the hell do you say...
Oh,
everything here is honestly, El. How do you act out? We're just going to talk over each other. This is the best radio ever. And he disappeared on my screen. Honestly, how do you act out a line that says, I hate sand. It gets everywhere. Everything here is soft and smooth.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Like, how do you say that?
Brayden,
I'm going to put your ears on mute for a second. That is the kind of line.
It wasn't the movies we hated.
Yeah.
It was aspects of the movies that we hated. There's some aspects of those movies that are so hard to overlook, and it was the acting. You had who was supposed to be the fundamentally the most evil villain in Star Wars, and you're supposed to watch how he became that, and he's like.
You've got to watch him
like,
put the back of his hand on the small of Natalie Portman's back, and you're like, that is not Darth Vader. He would never do that.
Like, how did you become Darth Vader? Like, honestly, like this, I'm embarrassed for James Earl Jones looking at the kid who is supposed to be him later in the movie. Like really, this is what you've done. This is how I acted. Like, I was this whiny little bitch of a kid. Like, really?
Yeah.
You know who James Earl Jones was? He was Hayden Christensen in Revenge of the Sith saying, I hate you.
Yeah. Well, kind of. I mean,
so bad.
Well, it's not even James Earl Jones. It's original actor that played the part of Darth Vader. What was his name? David Krause, that bodybuilder from the UK. Like, they wouldn't use his voice because he had like a Scottish accent. Like, you can't have.
Right. He was like real high voice.
Right. He had a terrible voice for the part. And you think about the actor that played him, and then who played the young version of him. You're like, Jesus, that's, you should have had somebody from Train Spotting.
But I think the Clone Wars are example of why, like, are a good example of we didn't hate the story of the prequels.
No, I mean, ultimately, you think about it from beginning to end. No, we didn't. Yeah, you're right.
Or else, because if we really hated the story of the prequels, like, there's nothing that the Clone Wars could do to help that along. It wasn't the story. It was, good God, it was, let's face it, it was Hayden Christensen. And he did so much better.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Here's the funny thing. Braden, I want to hear your take on this, if you're still there. Still there?
What?
Are you still making trades? Did we interrupt you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was. I was in the middle of a blockbuster, actually.
Okay. Well, you update us on that when you're done. I'll put you on mute again until you're ready. Just ping me on a text.
No, what were you going to tell me?
Don't worry about it. You're already behind like 5 minutes.
You just focus on my Orioles right now.
That's right. Focus on making focus on making the Orioles a contender and
Bring
get back
me
to us.
home a winner.
Yeah, so
Please.
I guess what I was going to say is like, we talked about things making the prequel trilogy more appealing to us, right? Like the Clone Wars definitely gave me a better appreciation for the prequels. Hell, even Rebels
Because
did.
it wasn't a bad storyline.
Right. And even Rogue One brought back an element of the prequels. You think about it, Rogue One brought back Bail Antilles, right? Like he showed up. Like Jimmy Smits walked out of the background. That gave you some kind of tie-in, some kind of context, or anchored you back to shit. We saw him in the right, and little things like that really work well. But let me tell you this, guys. Let me throw something at you here, and I want to hear your initial reaction. What ancillary material has anchored us to give us appreciation for the sequel trilogy? We've had this Resistance animated thing, which I can't watch. It sucks. I'm sorry. I tried to watch it with my sons. They don't even like it. It's not good. The whole premise of the First Order and Resistance is just so... it's just not thought out well. None of it is. It doesn't make sense to me. And Ellie, you've heard me say it, and everybody who's downloads this goddamn show has heard me say this a million times, Elle. I want to get your take on this. So you've got a First Order that rises up 30 years after Return of the Jedi. You've got a huge stormtrooper force. They're not clones. They're stolen babies, like millions of them. Nobody noticed. The Republic didn't notice. But you got millions of stolen babies that make up a battalion of thousands of battalions of stormtroopers. Nobody noticed. And the Republic wouldn't fight that or investigate it. Like, come on. Like, shit. Wouldn't this have been easier? Like, Palpatine rose to power on the back of clones. Like, that's what he did. That's how he got there. Why in the hell wouldn't they have done that in this sequel trilogy? That's my biggest beef with it. On top of everything else, like making Finn uninteresting when he could have been interesting. Yeah. Like, why would you not have revisited something from the prequel trilogy that would have tied things back together like you did clones again? I mean, shit, he was a clone. Snoke was a failed clone. Like, why would you not have made your stormtrooper battalion clones? How can you explain raising a force that fast without that? To me, Elliot, you've heard me say it a million times. It's just stupid.
Like they
why wouldn't you have done that?
Twice the speed. Yeah.
It's just dumb. Like, why wouldn't you have done that?
Because they were focusing on was the Skywalkers. They literally hung the story on the back of that name, hoping it'd be enough. Like, that's it. That's all people are wanting is just the nostalgia of the Skywalker name, and that should carry us through 3 movies. And they didn't really care about the rest of the story. I mean, it wasn't.
I know they didn't, and when you try to break down the logic behind how the First Order rose so quick, like none of it makes sense. Like you had to make those stormtroopers clones, and the reason we all hated the Empire, right? As kids growing up in the 80s, the stormtroopers are all one character, one type of person, very single-minded. Nazi-like. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you think about it, right? All like white Nazi-like. Like that's what they were. Right. They were guys, Nazi-like. They hated other species. That's what they were. That's why you didn't like them. What I have a issue with this new Disney First Order is no, we're an inclusive Nazi regime. Like no. We have different colors. We have different sexes and everything. No. We're an inclusive, oppressive First Order, and not just a total.
And they did Finn dirty. I mean, they had a character that they could have done so much with and they nerfed him. I mean, he just became he was a non-entity at a certain point.
Could have became very interesting and didn't. Like you could have you get somebody that defects from that. Like that could be a very interesting and passionate character.
Let's deal with his PTSD and the whole situation. I mean, like let's investigate who his fucking parents were. I don't care who his rays were. Like, let's see, let's Finn become Lando's kid. Like, make it something.
Exactly. And I kind of felt that way too. And I'm like looking at all these other things like Phasma. Fine, you had a big, powerful, strong female character in Stormtrooper armor. She was badass. All the marketing and everything was around her, and you didn't do shit with her.
They killed her off.
And she was great in Game of Thrones. One of my favorite characters was her.
God, yeah.
And you
great
did
actress.
literally nothing with her.
You put a helmet on her, and that was it.
She was taller than everybody.
She might have been in the armor. We don't know.
And she was menacing. She was menacing in that armor, and you diminished her to nothing. You put a Wookiee's gun to her head, and she gave up the.
You made her a Disney character.
Exactly, and I hate that so much that I don't know. This has turned into a bash everything.
Ron, I want to go back to one of your things about the Empire that you were saying how they hated all the other species.
They did.
Another storyline that actually really tells how much the Empire hated other species is Thrawn. Somebody who was one of their own was ridiculed and talked about and talked behind when he was a part of the Empire.
Right. But Palpatine needed him for a reason, and that was
because he wanted his race.
Well, he wanted his race, and he wanted knowledge of the outer regions that they didn't know about, which his race knew. That's exactly why. And that's not even that's canon. That's not even the former novels. That's canon. That's actually why he wanted him. And it wasn't because... Now, he gave him a lot of rope. He promoted him. He took him under his wing, so to speak. But it was always that, I take you under my wing, but I got this knife right next to your throat.
No, keep your enemies, you keep your friends close, your enemies closer.
And there's some... speaking of stories that could be told, there's some really great Anakin Skywalker Thrawn stories where they meet before he becomes Darth Vader, and then there's some really good stuff while he's Darth Vader and with the Empire as Admiral Thrawn. So
anyway, this has turned into a lot of issues I have with their decisions on this First Order. The First Order was, out of the sequel trilogy for me, was the most disappointing thing. Such a weak shit thing. You had this guy, General Hux, for the first 2 episodes that was supposed to be the commander that just got lasered in the chest in episode 9 for we found our traitor, boom, done, and nothing. He's no fanfare,
there was
no
a
importance,
better way to do
nothing.
him.
And it's not like I like that actor or that character, but it's like, who the hell thought this out?
Yeah, I mean, think of Rebels with
Callus?
Agent Callus, where he becomes part of the Rebel Alliance. I mean, there's something there that you could have done more with Hux.
It's just better storytelling in the animated series than it was in the. Unfortunately, if you rewind the clock back to November of 2012, when Disney acquired Lucasfilm, they said they were going to make new movies. We wouldn't have guessed then that your animated series would actually tell better stories than what you would in the sequel trilogy.
No, but everybody had concerns about Disney taking it over, though, too.
Sure, yeah, you're right. You know, we're going to give the Death Star mouse ears, kind of
right.
shit.
It was instantly, it was like, okay, how are we going to make... I mean, it wasn't that Star Wars wasn't kid-friendly. It was just, okay, now you're going to make it so much more... making it fit into the theme parks and stuff. And it's it's great, but...
Shit, you reminded me I was going to say earlier. It's yes, if Star Wars was finally going to arrive in a Disney park as a theme park, as a section, yes, we all thought 20 years ago, it would be called Batu. No. Batu? Does anybody know what Batu is unless you've read a novel or two? Like, it's called Batu. I've been there. Yeah, there's some feelings that it's kind of Star Wars related, but it's not really. Like, I think they really totally missed the mark on the theme parks. You know, they had a real opportunity in front of them to make this feel like Star Wars. I think they missed it, unfortunately. I really do. I've been there, and it's too sequel related. Unfortunately, sequels, since they missed the mark, this theme park does not feel like Star Wars.
Who do they think was going to be taking their kids there? The people who grew up with the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people who can afford to go there. Let me rephrase that.
Maybe some people can.
because those millennials are still living with their parents and going to be, if they're going to Disney World, they're still going with their 70-year-old parents to Disney
70?
World. Yeah.
Braden, last time he went, it was before, but you got to see Star Tours and other stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you for the thanks.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, we can. I thought that's all you. I thought you were giving. I thought you were giving your typical Greg Cody response, like, yes, no, leave me alone. I'm building up my Orioles roster.
No, but when you had Disney take over, it would have been like halfway through the Harry Potter series. If you would have heard that Disney was taking it over, you'd have been like, oh God, no, just don't.
Right.
I know the direction that the story's going, and Disney is not, like, the darkest Disney gets is killing off parents or killing off somebody in a princess movie early on, and that's about, they don't dig, there's nothing really deep there. And so especially with sci-fi, it's just the wrong. That's the reason I kind of worry. I mean, like, you're glad that they have Marvel, or that Marvel is with Disney, because it's just for the money. But you just hope that they don't, because the comics could be kind of dark shit, and so it's like, don't take these characters and again nerf them for us. That's not why we read the comics. We didn't read it for, to hear somebody, like, you completely weaken somebody's powers. We want, if you have a planet killer, we want to see the planet killer.
And I think that's why Rogue One was received and is still some of people's favorites, because that last scene with Darth Vader is where it really shows how powerful he really was.
And they were willing to kill the entire cast that you went to the movie with.
And Elliot, what I think happened there was, I don't think Gareth Edwards, who I think did a fantastic job on Rogue One, I think the ending didn't have that. Like, it didn't have that Vader scene. It didn't have that every character was killed off. I think that was the one time they stepped in and said, no, it has to be this way. I kind of feel that way. I don't know. I feel
Which
that
would have been fine, because, like, even if you wouldn't have added Princess Leia's character at the end, just having the scene with Darth Vader where you're like, you're reminded, because everybody, anytime you think of Star Wars, you do think of him. I mean, like, they're just one and the same. So, like, Darth Vader is Star Wars. Star Wars is Darth Vader. So to have a breakaway movie, it's fine, especially if you know during that you're going to be dealing with the time that Darth Vader is roaming the galaxies. You want to see him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're going to you want to know. And so they did it right by at least showing this is why he's so feared. This is why when he shows up in places, and this is why his name is like,
and this is why he was so pissed off in episode 4
with those guys screaming through the doorway. I mean,
and then he was just a flick of the wrist. Like, he wasn't even like breaking a sweat. He was just like, you're gone. It was
right.
I wish I could do that at work. I wish I could do that at work.
Right?
Just walk in.
Wish I could do it at home. He's like throwing you up on the ceiling.
Say that again.
I don't want to choke anybody. I just want to lift him up on the ceiling so get the hell away from me.
Throw you to the side. Yeah. No, I mean that's it. But again, like you didn't weaken him. You didn't.
Yeah.
Right.
You actually showed something that the originals never had. I mean, you knew he was a badass. You knew he was the villain. You knew he was scary. But like that one small scene, like actually was more scary than anything he had done in the original.
No, you're right.
And that's all you needed.
Yes, it made Darth Vader terrifying again, which he should be. It's what he's supposed to be. And yeah,
he was to begin with, and it raised him a level. It was like, oh, okay, now like this is why when he walks into a room, everybody panics because he just flicks his wrist and
that
somebody
actually
dies.
was a moment where, because honestly, after the the prequel trilogy ended, and we're all fans of the original one, but we're like wondering about this guy. We saw this Anakin guy who was rubbing the back of some girl, saying it's so soft and smooth here. Now you see somebody who's walking through a corridor, just like, I'm just gonna fucking mow everybody down here. I don't care. And you see the anger, and then you see the anger right at the beginning of episode 4, and now all of a sudden, he becomes a villain again, like a real villain, somebody scary, and we lost that for a brief period of time. But,
of course, because it's hard to believe that somebody that couldn't recognize he didn't have the high ground in one movie.
Right. And got 3 limbs cut off. Jesus Christ, really.
I mean, like, he gets his, one sweeping motion, he jumps in the air and gets his legs and arms cut off. I mean, it's like, okay, like, clearly you don't know tactical battle kind of anything that's going on because
it kind of begs the questions. Did you check between your legs when all that stuff happened? Like, is everything still there, or did we?
Yeah.
Did we?
It's just, like, give me something where like his kids were manufactured and then like that should have been even like scary, like how his kids came to creation. I don't want to hear that he fell in love. It's dumb to me. Like, okay, his wife died. That's the reason he goes insane. Like,
of heartbreak.
Nobody believes that.
Of heartbreak.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, really?
Yeah, you don't really strike me as somebody that would ever die of heartbreak.
Well, I mean, like, no. First of all, no. And second of all, like,
no.
Like, I mean, like, I'm supposed to believe you became the biggest, baddest ass in the galaxy because your wife died, that you knew all of a minute. I mean, did you just feel deeper than the rest of us?
You sound like me. Like, you sound exactly like me when I talk about this new First Order. Like, you can't make sense of this to me. Like, I don't.
No.
It's not cool enough. I understand that you have TIE fighters that are built a little more robust, cooler walkers. Great. You made a planet killer out of a planet, which was really stupid. But this whole First Order thing fell completely flat for me. It's fake. It's inclusive, which is not what evil people are. They're not inclusive.
No.
So come on.
Yeah, no, it's just that. Like I said, it wasn't. I don't have a problem with the story of the prequels, except like
except the smooth
I don't
sand
need a love story
and all
in
that stuff. Yeah,
I need to know why Darth Vader is so kick-ass. Why? How he? And that's because no, you rolling around on a field does not tell me I should be scared of you.
You're
later.
talking about the Sound of Music moment
for me.
Yeah, the Sound of Music moment. When they're running across the field, playing with those balloon animals or whatever the hell that is. Yeah, it's totally Star Wars.
Oh. No, like make it more like I could see like him like when he went nuts because of his mom dying and stuff like that. You want to lead me to believe that plays more into your psyche of why you hate everybody and
So I
everything.
probably should have stopped right there when he flipped out.
Okay.
Yeah, I would get that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you go nuts and you kill all the little Jedi kids. Gotcha.
But all you needed was the manipulation from Palpatine, and that was pretty much it. That could have told the story right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't know. So it's like heartbreak. Well,
Yeah, I know.
she
Heartbreak.
died of heartbreak. You didn't take the high ground because of heartbreak. I'm like, yeah, not.
I like that. You didn't take the high ground because of heartbreak. Episode title.
Right.
Episode title.
Like you couldn't. Like all your battle plans, all your fighting skills, everything left you because stop. Done. Cut it. Can't believe it.
All right. No, we're keeping all of it in. Braden, quick update on the Orioles, and then we're getting out of here.
So currently trade deadline, trying to get some trades, trying to get a late, playoff run.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, if we choke the playoffs, I'm giving it one more year, and if we lose, I'm done.
Okay. So you're done with the Orioles.
Opting out of my contract.
Okay.
What? You can't just give up on them like that.
No, he will. No, he will. Do you want to build up Mike Matheny's Royals at all, or are you moved on from that too?
Nope. Nobody cares.
That was quick.
Okay, great.
I like it.
Great, very good.
Concise. Yes. Nope.
Elliot, tell everybody where they can find us. I know you don't know this.
Well, you can find us on anywhere you can find podcasts. Spotify, TuneIn.
That's very insightful. Okay.
iTunes, SoundCloud,
Stitcher.
You can find me.
Google Play.
You can find Stitcher. Yeah. You can, anywhere you can find podcast. Even on Facebook Live, but don't go there. Go to YouTube. It's better.
We hate Facebook Live.
You can find Ron on Twitter at TOR_Ron75.
Thank you.
You can find me at TOR_Elliot, and you can find L on Twitter at Holy L. _L? Holy_L?
Holy_L.
Yes.
Holy_ELLE.
Yes.
You're welcome.
The sexually suggestive Facebook pariah. Holy_L.
Yes. And even though if you can't find Pete, you really can at the Team Arrival podcast.
Don't
Twitter.
look for him. He doesn't care about you.
Don't look for him.
He doesn't care about you.
He'll just get you angry and then block you. So
most likely.
Oh, sounds like fun.
Yes.
We are encouraging Elle to block Pete tonight just for fun. Just block him for 24 hours.
Oh no, I wouldn't block.
Just 24 hours. Just block him. Oh, actually, he's not on Twitter, so never mind.
Kind of like the blue checks the other day. They all got blocked for 24 hours, which was nice.
Which is funny. They were in an
Hey,
uproar.
can we get an update on the Wilson Contreras situation?
Tip. Is this on? I was like, oh,
Okay,
they left Twitter
fine.
to the plebe.
What about Wilson Contreras?
Weren't we gonna get
Yes,
a cameo or
Wilson
something
Contreras
like that?
did block us.
Hold on. He's. Oh, you mean him blocking us? Yeah, I have no idea why.
Yeah.
No, weren't we gonna get a cameo and ask him why?
I don't think we got a response to that, B. I mean, right? I mean, Wilson Contreras, we have no idea why blocked our account.
No, I don't think our regular account has interacted with him at all, except for maybe Pete did reach out to see why he
that
DM'd a
motherfucker.
porn
I knew
star.
it every time. Yeah, no, he did. He is like, I want him to have his own account, like you and I do, like TOR. He won't do it because he knows he's going to get lit up, like every other night.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have the balls to be on Twitter.
Oh, he got called out by L. I love this. I'm going to save that soundbite. Saved. Oh shit! Sorry, that was a tauntaun. Didn't mean to touch that button. All right, we've got to go. We've been on too long.
You need to end with his noise.
Oh,
no,
sorry.
that was Elliot's noise.
I can do it. We love you all so much. We will talk again next week with Pete here. Elle, we're so glad you joined us tonight. It was fun talking to you again. Braden, we're sorry that you were on pause for so long, but hopefully you got that team build up. You can give a report out on us next week on how the Orioles are shaping up for the 2020 season. Until next week, though, we love you all so much. Bye-bye, everyone.